Hello, this is the Q&A for the PlayStation video, PlayStation games that might be evil. For those who missed the last Q&A I did, I am not able to read out people's names anymore because Patreon changed their website's formatting. And I like to cut down the questions just to the questions themselves because you don't need to hear me reading a bunch of people praising me. So the end result is that these are going to be anonymous from now on, which I think some people really won't mind. And anybody that really, really cares, I guess what I have to say to you is that there are things that are much more important than hearing a YouTuber that you like say your name. So really, really quick one right up front. This is not a question from any one person in particular anyway. A lot of people have been asking this since I announced Second Time Virgins, my podcast. Why is the podcast only on Spotify? Where is the RSS feed? Why can't I listen to it on other platforms? Where is it? Have you thought of putting it on YouTube? The answer is that I would love to get it on other platforms. It's a really low priority for me right now, if I'm being honest. And part of that is just because I don't fucking understand it. You know, when I was making podcasts, way back in the day, I had to use Tumblr to create RSS feeds that were pulling from archive.org uploads and shit like that. And of course, all of that information has been totally atrophied from my brain. And then when I was doing Pod Spirit and Human Insects, I was using whatever the website is that turned into, was it Stitcher? Is that right? No, I can't remember. That turned into Spotify for podcasters. Spotify bought that fucking company out. In the time since I've been doing podcasts. So, I know that I'm limiting the listener base, and I would like to get more people to listen to it anyway. But right now, what I've done is I have told Spotify to enable an RSS feed for the show, and it created one. But I still don't think it's out to any other distributors. So I'm very confused because they were making it sound like some of these other podcast sites would, or platforms would just scrape it up and use it. So I don't know. If somebody wants to give me a fucking step-by-step guide, something kind of idiot proof, let me know. Otherwise, I've just had all these weird fucking issues with, stuff like Apple, their podcast uploading, because I don't remember, it was something weird where it wouldn't let me log into an account that was different from my Apple ID, which is this fucked up old email I don't even use that I try not to have enabled anyway because I don't give a shit about cloud stuff. Anyway, it's a fucking mess. I've just had I've been met with a lot of resistance when I've tried in the past. So also nobody asked about this on Patreon, I don't think, or no, one person did, but a lot of comments about it. I updated the pinned comment, but I think people still are commenting on it. I fucked up because I'm dyslexic. It turns out that when you're dyslexic in one language, you can also be dyslexic in other languages. I knew the title of that film was I Heard the Ammonite Murmur. But when I was trying to recall it offhand while I was adding titles, I glanced down and the word that caught my eye was ammonite, but I'm dyslexic. This is in Japanese, written katakana. Because I'm dyslexic, I somehow just assumed it was anemone. I don't think you can blame me all the way, because that also sounds like it would be the name of the kind of film that it is. But I don't really regret getting it wrong now, because it was really heartening to see how many people wanted to seek it out, and were unable to. So hopefully everybody was able to, once I caught that. And other people caught it too. There were people correcting me in comments, which I appreciated. Are you doing okay regarding the stuff with your ear that you talked about around Christmas? Yes. So really quick TLDR, so I don't need to bore you with details about my body that are not relevant to you. I had a fucked up inner ear thing that was making me really dizzy all the time, and it was painful, and it felt like it was fucking with my my like balance. Oh yeah, I said I was getting dizzy all the time. It was really fucked up. It was fucking me up, and occasionally my hearing in that ear would kind of waver. So I had to go and get that taken care of. But at the time, because the Penguin's Memory video completely tanked, I was too scared to go and get it checked out. I was like excited, like, oh my god, this video is gonna come out and I can go get medical assistance. But no, everybody was incredibly patient, incredibly gracious. What's the word? Generous. Jesus Christ. Everyone was really, really generous, and I really, it really turned shit around. So not only was I able to get that taken care of, the kind of big thing in my life right now, the big weird health thing going on with me is that these motherfuckers got me on Invisalign. I had some really fucked up dental work last year that really fucked my teeth up, fucked my whole mouth up. My teeth moved in a way they weren't supposed to, and now it's very easy for me to bite the inside of my lip at all times. So I had to cough up a large amount of money, maybe the most money I have ever spent in one place before. I'm not fucking kidding you. On getting my teeth fixed so that I would not have to pay a payment plan that has like insurance. They had like a discount for paying up front, and then also they gave me a discount for not having dental insurance. But it was a lot of money. So that combined with taxes kind of fucked me, but the PlayStation video performed well, and so that money, the money I made from that video gets to go to my quarterly taxes. I'm currently back in that awkward income bracket where I'm making enough money that there are certain expenses that I only have because I'm where I am money-wise, but then like my healthcare is $400 a month and shit like that. It's terrible. It would be awesome if I could, like, I don't know, not have to pay for healthcare or something. It'd be really awesome if, like, the people who decide how much money it costs to get your body fixed and your brain and your teeth and things, it would be really awesome if the guys who set those prices got scared. Hello, have you any thought about Koji Shiraishi's movie Safe Word? No, but I want to see it. I heard like a 3-word description of it, and I was like, all right, man, sign me the fuck up. Safe Word it is. I'll get to it eventually, and I don't know, we'll probably cover it on the podcast. Recently, I've been obsessed with the era of Tokyopop's Y2K American authors writing Japanese-style manga, works like Bizengast, Dramacon, and The Dreaming. Do you have any standout titles from that period that you enjoyed? No, I, as a child, was snobby, and I was like, this isn't real manga, I don't care. But in hindsight, the fact that Stu Levy and Courtney Love made a manga together is crazy. I have it. I have, like, a weird art book from it, I think, but it's in the living room. I can't remember the name. I'm sure if you search Courtney Love, Stu Levy, manga. It will come up. Ugh. Favorite way to prepare eggs. When I'm at a restaurant, I always do over medium. Personally, my favorite way to prepare eggs is just scrambling them. Because it's completely foolproof, and a lot of the time I just want to get the food inside of me. But I've got a lot of respect for a poached egg, and I really am into just like a good old-fashioned, like you cook bacon first and then you drop the eggs in the residual fat and you fry them. Basting it while you do that feels good. But to be honest, I haven't been eating eggs lately because they're too expensive. Really fucking expensive. And I feel like the grocery store nearest to me, they're talking about how, oh, sorry, we might be out of eggs because eggs are, we're having such a crisis with these goddamn eggs right now. The fucking thing is stocked full of eggs. The whole fucking refrigerator, top to bottom, because they're selling them for more money than people can spend. At that rate, to make them less expensive, it's preposterous. I'm not sure if this is a basic bitch recommendation, but have you played or heard of the newly released Enna Dream Barbecue? I don't suspect that that's a basic bitch recommendation. No, I haven't, but my roommate Alyssa did on stream, and she really enjoyed it, and I think there's a VOD of it, so go to her YouTube channel. youtube.com/lovelandisle, or just search Loveland Isle, one word. Whenever you make these videos, how deeply do you actually play the games? Do you just sample them, play until you get bored, finish them, or even not play them at all? And did you ever play a game for a video that got too distracting and you had to stop yourself from playing it longer? Well, a lot of this stuff is stuff that I kind of like subtextually try to cover in this video. So like, you know, that whole ending part is partially interrogating the fact that like, when I make one of these videos, it would be tremendous diminishing returns to play basically any more of these games than it takes for me to have enough material to know I can write a good segment about this. Sometimes I will just keep playing them because I'm interested in them, or I see something in like a screenshot that I want to try to get to. But really, it's like, if I know that I'm going to talk about the stuff that sort of surrounds a game more than the game itself, I don't need to play it that much. I really probably played like a half hour of Seven Blades, for example. That might have been like the median time I spent with any game that I covered for more than a sentence. Some of them were like 3-4 hours. A lot of them were like 15 minutes. Some of them were like 5 minutes. A lot of them, actually, I would get through the opening and go, fuck, this isn't the kind of game I want to play for this. This doesn't really fit. Evil PS2 games remind me a lot of evil PC games that supposedly had IRL stuff in them that was talked about when I was in elementary and middle school over a decade ago. I never played them, but even now I can't help but feel like those were just internet hoaxes. Did you ever have that same curiosity and chicken out like me, or did you actively look into it? Well, a lot of that stuff was coming out when I was an adult with a job. So that's stuff I was hearing about like on Twitter and like in whispers, and I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't really buy this. Like, I assume that you're at least partially relating, or you're partially invoking stuff like Sad Satan, which is I think that was 2015, maybe 2016. But anyway, I was like, there's more to the story here. This is a work in progress. I'm going to tap out of thinking about this until there's some kind of information out there about like what this whole thing was about, like why this exists. And to my understanding, like, there's still a lot of mystery around it. I vaguely remember that there was, like, a YouTube channel that covered scary games that clearly was created to set the seeds for that game getting released. And come to think of it, I actually think at least one game I talk about in the PlayStation video did have a video from that channel, and I thought about writing that in there, but I think I decided against it. Or maybe I just forgot about it because I don't have Sad Satan on the brain very often. Maybe that could have been fun to slip into the walking sim section, or maybe it's a good thing I didn't, because that game is shrouded in confusion and a mystery and misinformation and dubiously legal content. So I'm not about that shit. But as far as like, I guess like, the rest of the stuff is mostly just creepypasta, right? You know, hyper-realistic blood, Squidward cut to a photo of a mutilated dead child, that type shit. When I was, like, a little bit younger still, like, when I was first getting into creepypasta in the early 2010s, even though I was a teenager, I was very easily scared, still. So that stuff did get to me, like Ben Drowned and Pokemon Black, Pokemon Creepy Black, I think they call it now. The two of those in particular, were really, they were ones that, like, you know, I read them during the day. I think I was, like, out with my parents running errands, and I was just, like, reading it while we were driving or something. I can't do that now. I get way too car sick. And I was still, like, it stuck with me, like, through that night. Did you find any other interesting games on that list when you were randomly clicking names that didn't fit with the video theme? Well, the beauty is I kept it really loose, and the definition that I was using as a theme or a framework was one where I could basically decide whether or not it fit. Like, some of those games I was really, really stretching on by including them, and I just wanted to include them, so I did. There were a few games here and there that I think I thought I would have more to say about, that, like, when I got to it in the script, I could say the same things about the subject by talking about a similar game that I just had more to say about. Like, when I talk about Furaiki, there was another game that I played for about the same amount of time that I used footage of up front. I actually found it at a Pink Gorilla here in the city and played it on hardware. And then I wound up capturing the footage later on my computer. But I thought I was going to talk about that one in depth because there was a lot of it that was really interesting. Like, you said, like, a whole itinerary, but then, like, you can spend, like, you're going to Hawaii, maybe even, like, a specific part of Hawaii, and you're basically building out your own itinerary. And, you know, it's like, if I want to go see this landmark today, then you can go and do that. And I think it was legitimately framed as, like, do this so that you can get a bunch of buy this game and play through it and read everything so that you can be as prepared for your trip to Hawaii as possible. But I couldn't really I couldn't discern if that was exactly what was going on, and I didn't want to overstate that component, so I just decided to talk about Furaiki instead. Thoughts on the Y2K revival? Because I was there, it feels like everything is missing the context for why things were done that way. And are we headed for a similarly edgy or irreverent zeitgeist? Can it ever be that edgy again? This is something that my thoughts are not fully formed on, and that I'm hoping making that video about the Shin-chan dub will help with. Because I have two parallel trains of thought. And those are, oh, you damn thing. Oh, you damn kids. That's my thing. You weren't there for it. You don't get what it was really about. And also, we kind of weren't really that much smarter about it in the 2000s. Like, I think when people my age start to get like up in arms about like 18-year-olds dressing like we did in middle school, I think that they're forgetting that there was cultural, well, there was literal like time crossover. Like, these children were not born in like 2015. These are kids that grew up watching people that were older than them and they're therefore cooler than them dressing the way that we dressed at the time, because that was us. And so even though they didn't dress like that when they were teenagers, I don't think it really matters that they're kind of rediscovering that. I mean, again, this is like one of the points that I make in the Elfin Lead videos. Like, my like teen and young adulthood really weren't that different. You know, I'm sure somebody who's around for like tape trading anime tapes in the 80s would have seen like Macross posters on my wall, even though I hadn't seen the show, and would like scoff at me or whatever, you know? But then there, and like furthermore, like the Y2, like, we can talk about how our nostalgia is getting sold back to us and sold to people who are too young to remember it, and we can talk about how it's all just being used for aesthetics without any of the substance behind it. But I think that that's something that's really easy to say from a distance, which you should stay from the younger generation, unless you're like a teacher or something. I think it's really easy to say at a distance when you don't actually see how these kids are interfacing with anything, and you just see them follow you on Twitter and you get annoyed by what's in their bio. I think that it was pretty shallow in the 2000s as well. There was real art and heart put into a lot of the big bands of the era and a lot of the big like tentpole media. I guess I'm specifically talking about scene stuff here, because that's my sort of area of, not expertise, but that's my lived experience. But ultimately, like, these kids are buying their My Chemical Romance shirts at the same Hot Topics we did. But as far as, like, looking at it in a little bit of a broader sense, I think that Y2K is something that people are really interested in right now, because it is finally old enough that we are able to see it with some objectivity or with some remove. So when you're talking about everything missing the context for why things were the way they were in the 2000s, question asker, I think a lot of it was missing the context at the time, and I also think it's okay that the context will change. On the other hand, here's finally the other parallel train of thought, right? I'm still old man yelling at clouding by default. I have to walk the thought back every single time. Oh, these fucking kids, these poor kids have had their brains warped by iPad and Instagram, and they're incapable of seeing anything about their interests or their senses of selves, the ways that they present themselves, as part of curating an aesthetic that's being sold back to everybody else who's kind of like them or isn't really sure what they want to be yet, and that seems close enough. It's causing a complete lack of respect for all of these hardworking creators and this whole culture that is only seeing its highest point of cultural interest so far in the future. I that is my gut instinct to feel that way, but I'm trying to walk it back and look at the era and look at the way that, like, I gotta reference this. My old podcast, Human Insects, my co-host once told me about an article on there. There's the internet, an article on the internet that was titled Attacks Stickly is modern capitalist realist art, or something like that. Hold on. Attack was outsider art all along. We examine the bizarre capitalist realism. This is from the website Invisible Oranges. Yeah, that shit was lame. It was really fucking lame at the time. I think my generation holds kind of a particular mystique for bands like My Chemical Romance and stuff like that, because a lot of people my age were made fun of either for being teenage girls who were interested in those aesthetics and in music that kind of spoke to their angst, or you were a boy listening to dudes who wear makeup, and that's gay. So, like, there's kind of a special reference that I think my kind of specific pocket of millennial has, that makes them feel really cagey about other people coming in who didn't have to carry that cultural baggage that was associated with liking that music at the time, and then turning it into like TikTok aesthetic reels or something. But this is just how it fucking goes, man. You know? The girls that I was just describing were wearing fucking Cookie Monster pajamas to high school. All right, other half of the question: are we headed for a similarly edgy or irreverent zeitgeist? Can it ever be that edgy again? I don't know about the latter part, because, well, I mean, I guess it really comes down to whether or not we see edge as there being ideologies that are edgy rather than edginess being kind of an ideology unto itself. But putting that part out of the question, I think that we probably are, because we live in an era where people are, like, everyone is so fucking keyed up. Everyone has so much steam to blow off. Everyone is so angry at so many factors that are completely out of their control. And the people that are in power are simultaneously these fucking megalomaniac freaks that are doing the most insane shit in the fucking planet, while also, like, the culture surrounding us is somehow equally as sanitized and devoid of character. Like you know, stuff like AI, I think, is a really obvious example. You know, stuff like what you can and can't say on YouTube. The kind of, like, immediate dichotomy there between, I'm not allowed to say the C word on YouTube, but the guys who are running the companies that are demanding to pull their advertisement from individual YouTube videos are the same guys that are bumping elbows with fucking, like, Elon Musk at ketamine parties, brother. Like, that like cultural miasma, where we are being suppressed by people who are who exist in states of perpetual hedonism at other people's expenses. I think it's kind of impossible not to get so fucking wound up and to see being edgy as in direct opposition to this zeitgeist. And because I think ultimately, if being edgy is an ideology unto itself, which I up to a point believe it is, at least it can be, I think that ideology is more or less, you can't tell me what to do. And there are just different points in history where that sounds radical. During the Bush administration, when things got really edgy, it felt like it was lashing out against a puritanical Protestant monoculture in America. And we don't have that anymore. Because, the times have changed, right? And then let's say when white boys on the internet in 2016 got really edgy, that was in response to people around them getting upset at them for saying the N-word. Not across the board. I'm really not trying to overgeneralize. But, the 2015 YouTube era of humor that people are starting to talk about as something just far enough away that there's nostalgia, that there's with just enough distance that you can kind of view it as its own place in time. That whole culture, I watched that happen in real time. I graduated high school in 2014. And a lot of that was really just it was entirely rooted in a petty suburban frustration with quite literally being told what to do by people in authority. But those authorities are teachers, whose authority can really suck. Parents whose authority can really suck, and people who are asking you not to yell in the library, basically. But then, of course, we saw the fallout of all of that shit. We see how those edgy white boys in 2016 shaped the culture. But now we're here, and I think we're back in a place where, and I think this was even a case from 2020 onward, and then we have now where, in addition to all of the factors that I described, I think there's also an important element of throughout the last couple years, I mean, hell, even just the last decade as a whole, we have really watched companies, brands, corporations, big and small, get really good at selling our identities back to us. And I mean that both in terms of sexual and gender identity, whatever is... and when I say identity, I mean that in a very broad sense. Cultural identity, gender, sexual identity, subcultural identity, your income level. All of these things are things that corporations have figured out how to repackage and sell back to us. And when everybody kind of comes into, and when people come to realize that, it feels like the only thing that you can do to keep yourself and your identity safe and insulated from these reaching hands that are attempting to sell it back to you is to take it in a direction that is completely unpalatable by these standards that are set by these puritanical companies that are making it so you can't say the C word on YouTube. So that was very labyrinthine and very rambly, but yeah, that's more or less my feeling. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't really have a stance on that. I'm kind of an edgelord. I've got an edgy sense of humor, but I also don't really feel like I need to bring that everywhere I go. I mean, hell, even just saying that, I know that that's a result of my upbringing. And, my generation is starting to helm larger and larger projects. So while we have like edgy teen and young adult boys on like Twitch making billions and billions of dollars, helping define the youth culture, millennials are defining different parts of the culture. One of the most beloved films, universally beloved films of last year, of 2024, was made by somebody who cited Freddy Got Fingered as a masterpiece. So I think there are a lot of reasons why it's happening, and I think that there are a lot of reasons why it is probably just going to manifest differently than last time. Yeah, sorry, that was really long-winded. How does it make you feel when people speed up your videos? Is it something you do yourself? Well, if you did it for that last question, I don't blame you. Generally speaking, if I'm speeding up a video, I feel like I am doing it to counteract a failure on behalf of the person making the video. There's a certain YouTuber lilt that you can tell is being done to drag out a video's runtime. And I can't with that shit. I think in the past I've talked too fast in videos. I'm trying to get better about that. But I also know that even then people did watch my videos at 2 times speed or whatever. I don't mind it at all because the person in question is doing that because they will presumably enjoy watching the video more if they do that. So I don't feel strongly about it. Favorite takes on Seattle in fiction. That faux Space Needle warmed my little locally prideful heart. I always like seeing Seattle pop up and stuff, but like I don't know if I've really seen it in something where I've gone like ape shit. I think I've seen more like documentaries or like autobiographical stuff set in Seattle that really speaks to me, or that I really identify with the place that I live. Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about doing some kind of video about depictions of Seattle in games and movies and TV and anime, weirdly. There's like a good couple of them. The fuck you know about Halloween pajamas, listener? I've realized that you have read Chainsaw Man, so who's best girl? I dropped off at not that long after the aquarium sequence, I want to say. I dropped off when that like weird chef demon appeared. Not for any particular reason, but I gotta go with Asa. Even knowing that I haven't gotten that far into part 2, all things considered. She really is just like me. Really, she was. When I stopped reading. Have you ever read The End of Japanese Cinema by Alexander Zaltan? I think I own it. But like with so many of the books I own, I haven't read it. How do you feel about games that mimic or try to mimic real-life website or video programs? Or at the very least try to mimic the effects on them? I get really fucking pedantic. I get really, really pedantic at first, and then I get over myself. And part of getting over myself in that moment is knowing that I always hit a wall where it's like I can't be faithful to this original thing I'm trying to make a pastiche of. Like I can't get it any closer to this because I'll go crazy or I don't know how. So eventually I wind up giving them more grace, but up front I'm like, God damn it. They swapped the direction of the close window button and the minus window button. That's how it should be on Windows. Fuck ups. I have a vivid memory that you used to do the I have a very vivid memory that you did a video on Cookies Bustle, and there's some false DMCA about that game around YouTube at that time. Is there any way we can see that video again in some shape or form? I never made a video on Cookies Bustle. I used a little bit of footage of it in the video that I am doing a Q&A for. And the whole reason I did that is because the point that I'm making at that point in the video is that there are parts of a work that are going to be inaccessible even to someone who has seen it start to finish if there are things about it that they just can't comprehend, things that they don't know, including the language. And everybody loved Cookies Bustle after Classics of Game posted like a good handful of clips of it in a row. We were like, holy fuck, this is amazing. What the fuck is this thing? It's crazy. Look at how well animated the fretting is on this this song that has an acoustic guitar on it. And then the DMCA stuff started happening, and then people were like, oh yeah, there's a character in that game whose whole thing is that he's like a fat gay pedophile. Oh. So, like, we were advocating for this thing that's, like, so horrible, actually. I'm usually totally okay with some incredibly off-color shit like that cropping up in media of any antiquity, really. But that one, there was something about the way that it was written about that, like, really, like, rubbed me the wrong way. Like, really, like, oh, fuck this, actually. So, I was kind of vaguely trying to be in conversation with the fact that that's something that has ramifications in addition to just not getting as much out of something as you could otherwise. Hi, thanks for the great videos as always. See, that's the stuff I try to cut out. Thank you. Random question, but I noticed that you also follow Ryan Trecarton, and I was wondering if you have a favorite work of his. I've only seen A Family Finds Entertainment so far, but I think it's awesome. I believe I once described it as watching a gas station hot dog roll under one of the shelves at like a Party City, watching it collect all of the hair and glitter stuck under there. I'm more so curious if you would ever consider sharing or linking to some of the unglamorous, super long lists you mentioned, or have any recommendations for similar resources to dig up hidden gems. Do your own work. Do your own research. Find your own ROMs. I swear to God, it's not that hard. I can do it. So can you. Great video as always. God damn it. Another one. Thank you. I appreciate it. I like this video. I'm proud of it. Do you think the evil PlayStation game died off after the PS3, or is it just too early for its aesthetic reappraisal? Also, what happened to the Patreon segments? I haven't done those in like 2 years. I have way too many patrons. It's an incredible problem to have. I have too many patrons. If I wanted to put everybody's names somewhere in the video, and I didn't want to just stick it in the end, like, the most, like, default, like, cop-out way that everyone will click off for, it's going to be, like, 4 minutes in the middle of the video, and it's going to make Premiere melt my computer from the inside out. They're just, they're unfeasible, and frankly, I really don't think that they are a big enough draw that I am perceptibly losing money by not including them. I really appreciate everybody, and I think that the people who are pledging to my Patreon are probably going to get more out of asking these things that they are directly curious about, rather than getting to point to their name for like 5 seconds while it's on screen. As far as the evil PlayStation games cutoff date, no, I definitely don't think it died after PS3. I think PS4 we just enter into an unfortunate, well, gosh, I guess it depends, right? Because by the PS4 era, all of the, like, really, like, fucked up, like, you can buy this game for 99 cents and it exclusively uses stock assets games, are also all available on Steam, right? So there's not necessarily as many exclusives, but the PS4 library does have a lot of like adventure game, dating sim, like budget action title kind of fodder that's like kind of tucked in a bunch of different corners. So there probably is more there than I'm thinking of right now. And there are a good handful of games that just haven't been localized. Like that Kaiju Disaster Report game. If I was making a video on PlayStation 4 games that might be evil, I would find an excuse to slip that one in there, even though it doesn't really fit because it's arbitrary anyway. I just didn't stray too far from the platforms that were easiest for me to work with. I would have liked to have had more PS3 stuff. I didn't even play Kane and Lynch 2 on PS3. Yeah, like as the consoles libraries grow less and less disparate, I think some of that je ne sais quoi is lost. Hi Hazel, in this video you said something to the effect of, I make my living off of distracting people, or something like that. I don't watch your videos to be distracted, nor do I think your patrons are paying money to be distracted either. God knows we can get distracted for free somewhere else. I don't know where this self-slander is coming from, but I hope you're in a happy place creatively. My actual question is, what would you say is the most stereotypically artsy media you enjoy? And on the opposite end, what's the most empty-headed, empty, eye-candy, low-brow schlock media non-pejorative you enjoy? Thanks. I think interrogating that line is a valid and valuable thing to do, question asker. I think it's just, I personally feel like it is just a reality that coming to terms with has, coming to terms with what feels like a reality to me, has made my life better. I think I don't know, I had a lot of agita and ennui about that kind of thing. Really wanting to make things that were of really profound substance, and eventually I realized that like the majority of people watching my videos are watching them or like listening to them while they work or do something that like they want to be entertained for, and I don't have to diminish the quality of my videos at all to give them that. I can just make videos on things that I can make videos on more feasibly. So like when I say that, I'm being cynical, and I'm definitely thinking of stuff like the 8-hour retrospective on some television series that you caught like one episode of at your aunt's house that kind of stuck in your mind, that you have been like kind of curious about but probably shouldn't be 8 hours curious about. I don't know, I kind of just think I'm being realistic. It sounds really harsh. It sounds like I'm saying something very disparaging about my audience when I say that I make a living distracting people. Really, like, I know that anybody that would make a comment like this or that would be pledged to my Patreon is engaging with it in a deeper way than that. And I also don't give a shit if they are just watching it to be distracted. To me, it's I'm being frank. It's an inevitability that most of what I say to most people is going in one ear and out the other. It's just how it is. That's no different than like most serialized television. If I really wanted to be, there have been times in my life where I've gotten really, really caught up in the idea that if I don't have something of value to say, I shouldn't be saying anything at all. But at a certain point, I have to come to grips with the reality that, even though I have a really complicated relationship to it, my personality is my biggest asset, and that is what people are there for. So, yeah, I can be very informative. But I don't, I can't let it be a prerequisite anymore. Like, that's diminishing returns, and it's agony. I had fun making the PlayStation video. I've had videos that were really rewarding to work on, but the amount of research was, like, really mind-bending. Even though the Penguin video was kind of like that, there were stretches of research for it that were really, really fun, and then there were others that were really grueling, trying to get my facts straight. But you'll see that one if you didn't already, eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I really hope it doesn't come off as disparaging to anybody watching. I also do mean it as a little bit of a piss take on myself, because my job is intrinsically ridiculous, and I just try to kind of keep that in mind. I think it keeps me humble, or at least I hope it will continue to. Yeah, no, I'm in a happy place creatively, and I think that part of that is just that I'm doing more than just YouTube right now. I'll answer, or I'll go into more of that in a second, but like, you know, in addition to actively working on videos, I'm actively working on a lot of different stuff right now, and also I've got a really good group of people around me that are very grounding, creatively, very grounding, very, very creative people, and yeah, if anything, like, because I'm in a happy place creatively is why I'm able to say I make a living off distracting people with kind of a sardonic smile, and not like that like meme image of the soldier with like the PTSD eyes. You know the one I'm talking about? I don't know. Ultimately, I just I've spent too much of my time making YouTube videos for a living, being really serious about the fact that I make YouTube videos for a living. Your other question, what is the most stereotypically artsy media you enjoy? I don't know, probably like a lot of the art films of like the 60s and 70s that I watch. You know, fucking Agnes Varda, fucking Tarkovsky, fucking Bergman, yeah. On the opposite end, the most head-empty, eye-candy, lowbrow schlock media. I mean, if you count Pokemon, it's like a pretty big part of my life, frankly. If you don't count Pokemon, I don't know, I mean, objectively, like most anime is. If we're talking about like mass culture, mass appeal, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing to be head empty, eye candy, lowbrow schlock media, non-pejorative. To be clear, it's all a part of a balanced diet. I don't know, man. I really like Crank, the movie Crank. I was rewatching your Elfenlied video recently, and as always, the section where you talk about Lucy gave me chills, in no small part due to the song. I know from the song list that it's At Last Total Terror by Twinkle Park, and I was wondering where I could find it. I went through your Bandcamp and Spotify, but was unable to track it down. Am I missing it something, or has it not been uploaded? Thank you for bringing this up. This is something that I mean to draw attention to every now and again, but people tend to only ask like in Patreon DMs or Instagram or something where it's not like a public channel. That song was originally supposed to be on the record I put out last year. But after some time away from it, I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is nonsense. And these guitar parts, I don't remember how to play them and I don't want to relearn them. So I just kind of shelved it. I will release that song at some point. It's very likely that I'm going to do so. And it's just gonna have the MIDI guitar still. because I'm not gonna want to go in and re-record. There's some fun stuff in that one. I kind of went a little bit Evergrace OST with some of the pitch bends on a mandolin. The Final Fantasy X soundtrack. Hi Hazel! What music have you been listening to lately? Hello Jax, good to hear from you. Honestly, I was thinking about it just earlier today. My listening habits are a little bit, I really just kind of like glom onto like maybe a dozen records for like a good couple months at a time. So like when I think about what I've been listening to right now, or like the last like week or so, it's not really anything new. I've been back on I've been listening to maybe more Animal Collective than I would like to admit. Been revisiting Strawberry Jam. It's a personal favorite. Very specific question. Do you ever feel like your enjoyment of an art, mostly music, is ever dampened by your listening or viewing experience taking place in an inadequate environment, one that does not fit the mood? So how do you remedy this? Well, sometimes I will just stop and wait for a better circumstance. If I want to listen to a new record on the bus, but the bus is too loud, I will listen to an old record. If I'm trying to watch a movie with people who are making it difficult to watch the movie with, I guess you're a little bit shit out of luck in that situation, unless you can just kind of tune out and go, I'll watch this for real another time once I've forgotten most of this. But then, I don't know, there are other times where, like, inadequate environment can also sometimes mean, like, I'm going into this with all the conversations I'm seeing around it being negative, you know? Hi, Hazel. I just wanted to pick your brain for your thoughts on early YouTube horror series like Marble Hornets or Everyman Hybrid. What strengths and weaknesses do you feel the genre had? Why do you feel like the genre had largely died off in the modern age? Did any of these end up leeching their way into Divine Hammer? Thank you for your time. Okay, so first question, my thoughts on Marble Hornets and Everyman Hybrid and stuff. My thoughts are Everyman Hybrid clears the other Slender ones. I think it's just darling. I love it so much. Kind of funny that I just answered a question with an answer about Animal Collective with that in mind. I really like some of the kind of like second wave of YouTube horror stuff that came after. Petscop is probably objectively the best one. I think, yeah, Petscop and Everyman Hybrid are like my big goats. But obviously Petscop is more recent, even though it's already probably like, what, 8 years old? Or sorry, like 7 years old now. What strengths and weaknesses do you feel like the genre had? Well, weaknesses, I think, they got increasingly more inapproachable the more different platforms they were spread out onto, and the more it was trying to be in immediate how much it tried to be a cat and mouse game with its audience versus in conversation with its audience. Like, I love Everyman Hybrid, but, like, they were, like, important parts of the lore were being live streamed on, like, websites that don't exist anymore. It's just a byproduct of it being, almost 15 years old now. Marble Hornets, I've honestly just, like, never been super into because I think it is so fixated on puzzle solving. And I think a lot of its conclusions are kind of too opaque to feel very meaningfully impactful to me in particular. But as far as strengths go, I mean, fuck. The dubiousness of the like reality that they're working with, and the groundedness of presenting things like regular ass YouTube videos on the platform that is going to be like on the platform where that stuff would be, I think is really special. Like I think about I think about a movie like Unfriended, which I love. I love Unfriended 1. Watching that movie in a theater is nothing like if you were quite literally watching it in like a Skype call window or something, you know. Not that makes sense because you couldn't recreate it, but if you were watching a movie that was framing itself as a YouTube video and you're watching it in a theater, that's inherently not as immersive an experience as watching it however you would watch a YouTube video is. So I think that there is an inherent strength there, even though it's not like you're going to miss out on anything by watching an internet movie in a theater. I don't know. I'm trying to highlight a strength in one thing, not a weakness in the other. I think that being so immediately inextricably tied from their platforms is the one of their big strengths. And just like being on a scale where it was reasonable for them to interact with their audiences. Why do you feel like the genre has largely died off in the modern age? It hasn't at all. I will say the writer wrote analog horror, and I'm assuming that they meant more just like ARG stuff. And like, yeah, ARGs have died down because nobody wants to do the work. Because they realized that YouTubers would just do them for them eventually, do the work for them eventually anyway. And also I think that generally I've observed that people are getting a little bit less interested in fiction on YouTube again. It ebbs and flows around that kind of fiction. Which is to say, fuck no, it has not died off. Because we have analog horror. We have these goddamn Backrooms web series. We have fucking Skibbity Toilet. It's just that it's a younger enough demographic that we're not really engaging with them unless we have like kids. Or are those kids. So the Overton window has shifted. But I think that eventually something will come along that reignites an interest in online metafiction horror, long-running metafiction horror eventually. What's the longest hiatus you've taken from a piece of media before picking up where you left off to finish it? Restarting a game or show doesn't count. It doesn't count. Thinking at the time, I set aside Portal 2 for months to prevent it distracting me during a semester, only to pick it back up and realize there was all of 15 minutes of game left. That's funny. I think you can actually hear me do that in real time with Pokemon Platinum on the May.mkv myhouse.wad stream. I remember that really vividly for some reason. I had started Pokemon Platinum back in 2018, and I made a lot of progress in it, and then I fell off hard. And I went back and I finished it over the course of that 10-hour stream, which was in, I think, 2013. Jesus Christ, excuse me, 2023. And I think that was because I don't remember what my motivation was. I think I wanted to get the Poke Radar, but then I didn't do anything with it for like another couple of years. Have you seen any 60s or 70s era Yakuza flicks, specifically the Battles Without Honor and Humanity series? If not, definitely recommend them. Basically any Toei Yakuza film or anything with Bunta Sugawara. Honestly, I'm not super versed on Yakuza fiction. It's a blind spot. I want to fill it in at some point. I just need to make sure I'm staying away from the stuff that is too French New Wavy, because I'm just not really into that stuff. On the podcast, we talked about Inflatable Sex Doll of the Wasteland, and that's easily the episode of the worst movie I felt that we watched for that show so far. Just really not to my taste. Following up on your comparison of Ida Clawthorne to Ryoko Hakubi a few years back, do you think that comparison holds up or gets even stronger over the rest of the Owl House? I only ever watched that first season. Hey, would you consider doing a podcast with one of your friends about just random media that you like? I'm dumb and don't really understand anything you're talking about, but you have a nice voice. I like to listen while I paint. I don't know what that voice was, I'm sorry. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sure you're smarter than you're giving yourself credit for. I do Second Time Virgins. It's a podcast about pink films, which are weird Japanese softcore porn films. If you don't want to listen to that, I did a podcast called Human Insects, which in and of itself was a second incarnation of a podcast called Pod Spirit. You can find episodes of both of those and links to more episodes of both of those in the, I think, like playlist or podcast tab on my second channel, where you probably are right now if you're listening to this. I don't really plan on doing another podcast like Human Insects. Human Insects and Pod Spirit were exactly what you're describing. It's me and a friend talking about random shit that we liked that we'd been fucking with lately. That podcast ended when that co-host died suddenly and unexpectedly. And I'm just not really interested in starting up a podcast like that without them. Because that was kind of like our thing. So, Second Time Virgins is the closest that you'll get to more podcast from me for now. Who knows? Maybe in like a couple years or something, my stance will change. Last summer, I watched Peep TV Show and absolutely loved it. I've been chasing the high ever since. It was neat to hear you reference it in this video. I was wondering what your thoughts were on it, and if you have any recommendations of films in a similar vein. Is this the first time I've referenced it on the channel? That's funny if so. I first watched it, God, I want to say when I was working on the video that was supposed to be about the Heisei malaise that I wound up turning into a Scarecrow video in-person anime spotlight. I think I did. So that would have been all the way back in 2021. Yeah, I think before I even moved to Seattle. I adore that movie. I have called it my favorite movie. I think at this particular junction, I can feel it gaining some traction in online film spaces. And it is making me feel weird and antsy and defensive of it because I love that movie and I found it, damn it, which is not even true. I'm sure I saw like some fucking link to it somewhere. So I'm kind of trying to keep a certain amount of distance from it in my mind so I can keep it special so that in a couple of years I can revisit it and go, wow, I still love this so much. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now that invariably it inspired parts of, or not inspired, but I think just kind of like served as is influence or inspire the one that's more direct? I can't remember. I would say that it was an influence on Divine Hammer. Wait a minute, the fucking, the question about YouTube ARGs asked, did any of the particularities end up leeching their way into Divine Hammer? Fucking absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much of it in there. There's some Peep TV show in there as well. Yeah, Divine Hammer is definitely like a partial, through like a kind of like confusing chain of associations, is kind of a love letter to a lot of this stuff. How do you find or decide what B-roll you use in your videos, since you use a lot of footage from different media? It's all free association for the most part. Occasionally I will know that I want to use some kind of footage for something as a gag. Other times I just download a bunch of different like kinds of things that fit into what I'm talking about and then just like grab clips and use them intermittently. That was what I did for the Angara section of this video. And then other times I keep on the hard drive that I edit off of all of the videos that I've done, so that if I know I need footage of something that I've covered in another video, I can just go in and grab clips from those. Do you have a favorite PlayStation 2 game? Metal Gear Solid 3 feels really obvious, but that is one of my favorite games in the whole wide world. Silent Hill 3, also really high up there. A weird part of me inexplicably wants to say Graffiti Kingdom, because that was very formative for me as a young child, but I haven't visited it since, so I can't really say for sure. Let me look at my PlayStation 2 games very quickly. Rule of Rose. I don't own that physically. I own a reproduction. To be clear. Please don't break into my home. Yeah. Yeah, those are like really big ones, but quite frankly, like, they're fucking bangers for a reason, man. When making an album or an EP, do you generally create a set list after you've listened to each song completed individually, or is it more something you're thinking about while you're making the song? You have a rough idea where it's going to be when you finish it? It really depends. What I've done in the past is that I have slipped stuff, like as I wrote new songs for a record, I would mentally slip them between other songs I'd written. And then I would go through and figure out exactly what order I wanted to structure them in. With the record I am currently working on, the songs I'm currently writing, I'll say, I have very deliberately made a point to just have them written down, lyrics, chords, title, all that stuff, in the order I wrote them in, so that I'm basically incapable of thinking about a track list until it comes time for me to start assembling a track list. And the reason why I'm doing that this time is that I'm trying to write enough material that I can be a little bit more selective with what I put onto a next record. So I'm trying that out this time. I can't say that that's what I'll do from here on, but that's what I'm doing right now. Way too obvious question. Divine Hammer updates. Well, you'll see. It's coming out in 2024. No, I'm kidding. I would like to get it out before the end of this year, but I don't know how feasible that is. I have edited all of the footage that we shot in Pennsylvania. There's some reshoots we need, and there's some stuff that we just never shot to begin with around Seattle that we are going to pick some time to schedule to get that done on. And then I'm going to go back to editing. And then I got to get all the audio figured out, and then I'm sending that off to the person who is helping me with audio. And then we need to start figuring out distribution shit, which has been a fucking albatross around my neck and the goddamn sword of Damocles above my fucking head. I do not know how to distribute this movie. I do not know what to do with it. I'm so stressed out about it. I have no clue. Originally we were just like, oh, we'll put it out on DVD, but we ran the numbers and like we're looking at making basically no profit off the film if we do that. If anybody listening to this has experience with film distribution or film festivals or how to make your film appear legitimate and make money off of it, if you could leave a comment or hit up my email, which is linked on my main channel. It's obligatory Hazel contact email at gmail.com. Please let me know. I need help. Help me. But yeah, Divine Hammer's going well. It almost kind of resembles a film to my eyes. I don't think it's ever going to all the way because I wrote it and shot it and edited it, and all I can see are just like components that May and I strung together. So it kind of doesn't feel real. And we haven't shown it to anybody else yet, so it's kind of in a little bit of a weird like Schrodinger's dog shit territory. No, I'm kidding. I'm really happy with how it's coming together. I'm really proud of it. I love it. Editing it has been stressful, but has also felt incredibly rewarding. Yeah, it's just felt amazing to actually have the time, like the unbroken time to like make decisions about it instead of just thinking about it idly and feeling stressed out. Hey, Hazel, what are some things that make you feel complete as a woman? Why are you asking me that? Taking my bra off without taking my shirt off. Taking my bra off in public through my shirt. Nothing feels better than that. It feels like Rock Lee dropping off the training weights in the middle of the tuning exams. It feels like Goku taking off his gi before he fights Frieza. Any advice for people getting into video essays? I'm seeing more and more titles like When the Director Doesn't Even Care, or like is there any feasible way in which it could remotely matter whether or not there are any places to breastfeed in Super Mario Galaxy 2? So, you know, if you want to fast track to success, you could do something like that. Or you could do a video about how, like, the 3DS is a great homebrew software console for homebrewing, for hacking. You could do... I think I'm seeing more and more, like, thumbnails that are just, like, meme formats. I tried that with the PlayStation video, even though I think that's the funnier of the two thumbnails. It wasn't the one that stuck. But, you know, maybe you could just like, well, you know, I guess what it is really is that I'm saying when I say memes and thumbnails, it's more like stuff that's incredibly non sequitur and kind of mimetic that catches your eye and makes you go, what the fuck? How does this play in? So let's say we're doing a video that's about breastfeeding in Pikmin. And the title is like, I don't remember any of the levels in Pikmin. I've never been much of a Pikmin player, in fact. When the Bulborb can't even lactate, I don't know. I'm getting really off the rails here. But let's say you're doing that, and then your thumbnail has like yellow Pikmin, but for some reason like you've used like the Photoshop smudge tool to make its ass slightly bigger. And then there's like a picture of like Fidel Castro, and like he's got like big googly eyes pasted over him, and there's like a speech bubble over his head that says like this is inconceivable to be, or something like that. Those are some trends that I think I'm slowly seeing on the rise. So maybe get on those. But not for real. Make short-ish videos. Don't make anything over like 25 minutes. At least for the time being. People are really souring on longer videos. Short videos are in fact the wave. We're not going TikTok short, But I think the 12 to 18 minute video is like the perfect range for a YouTube video in people's eyes right now. That's my kind of baseless assumption based on what I've seen around. So hone in on some shorter videos. It's much more workable. This is a piece of advice that people give for everything. You gotta pull a fucking Dan Salvato, Toby Fox, whoever else, where you've probably got your dream video essay in mind right now. I'm gonna be the one who makes the video on Sugar Rune. Sure. I'm gonna be the one that makes the definitive Sugar Rune video. It's gonna be me. And I feel so strongly about this, and it's going to be a complete retrospective, and the video is going to wind up being like 90 minutes long. Totally fine for you to make a video like that that long if you're being very comprehensive, obviously. I think people will make an exception for that, viewers. It's also not like long videos are like dead in the water dead. I can just see it. Audio interface disconnected. Woo! Anyway, I'm not saying that people are already averse to long videos. I can just see the window shifting slightly over toward shorter stuff, sub-half hour stuff. It's refreshing. But also, your dream video, your 90-minute dream video covering everything about this one specific subject that you feel equipped to cover in that much depth. Each individual minutes of work contributes to some inner statistic toward whether or not you'll actually finish it or not. If you make a video that's 10 minutes, the amount of work that you're going to do might be minimal enough that there won't be any time for your brain to go, this is not a good use of my time. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this is too much work. Just start small. Start small and just start at all. Just put pen to paper. Figure it out. Something totally different might come out than what you're expecting. Just follow what is getting stuff on paper. Without giving away too much, of course, what are your next projects? Well, Divine Hammer is still on the way. I've got 2 videos scheduled right now. One comes out in just a couple days from when this will go live, I believe. And then the Penguin video after that. I've talked about wanting to do a video on the Shin-Chan Funimation Adult Swim dub, and I have some stuff queued up on my second channel. I will say right now that for anybody that was there for the Scarecrow video fundraiser live stream that I did, the call-in segment from that stream is finally going to go up on the internet. It'll be a while. I have it queued for some amount of time later. I'm trying to just kind of space stuff out to give myself more room to breathe. So I guess maybe I should even just kind of use this as an excuse to talk about that since we're right toward the end of this. Got a couple more questions. We'll see where it goes, but I'm just trying to be a little bit more gradual with how I release stuff and use that as a vector for me to put a little bit more stock into uploading stuff to my second channel and doing a podcast and appearing on streams and things. I realized that if I just try to be deliberate and not just upload everything in these big bursts that line up with the rate at which I'm getting them done, when there are inevitably valleys, when working is either harder for me or I'm out of town or some other circumstance, I've just got shit going on in my personal life, it's not going to be this huge dip. I refuse to guarantee any really consistent structure, but I have a lot of shit that's queued up now that I theoretically could release now that I am just choosing not to because I think that will do me better in the long run than going however many months without uploading, potentially. Yeah. Fuck it. I'll announce it. I was in a band in high school, and into my early adulthood. And the guy who fronted that band recently moved up here to Seattle, and his current music project is he's starting a band for that, and I'm playing bass in it. I'm back in a band for the first time in 8 years, 7 years, 7 years. Really long time. No, that's not true. 5 years. Yeah. 2020 was when I was trying to do stuff with my friend Christian in SoCal, but we never had like a band. But, you know, we've got like a little 4-piece going on. So more on that later. If you want to eventually see a band that I am in play live, you should get acquainted with the music of You Are Something True. I think that Brett's songwriting is incredible, and I love that guy a lot, and I'm very happy to be playing music with him. So those are some of my next projects. The nature of this question doesn't require any elaboration, but what's something you enjoy but don't or won't talk about on the internet? I love this question because it kind of sounds like it's trying to extort me. I know it's not, and I think that it's an interesting question and one I wish I had like a more immediate answer to. But I think the truth is that I'm really bad at keeping things to myself. I always wind up I'm bad at keeping individual like artistic or creative forms that I'm experimenting with out of things like my videos. So like, you know, I there was a while where I was writing more fiction than I am now. That's what I would do before I fell asleep. Because I have a bad to read. And I never ever intended to publish any of that anywhere, and that remains true. But fiction writing has made it into videos of mine. You know, the whole Wishmaker creepypasta, sort of building upon that. So like, you know, I love cooking. I cooked in one YouTube video, and I regret doing that because I looked like a clown. Glass cutting board. Why do they even fucking sell those? It's not something that I necessarily, it's not a creative endeavor, and it's not something likewise that I've ever talked about on my channel, but, I really love, Oriental rugs. I love, I love Persian rugs a lot. There's a rug that I use as a backdrop in some of my videos that is like one of my favorite things I own in the whole world. But it's not, so like it's not come up. I've never talked about it, but you do see it in my videos. So yeah, I guess I kind of don't have a proper answer. I'm curious what you think will be the visual or aesthetic hallmarks of today's media, either due to tech or trends. Your dive into the handycam tech got me thinking about that old "the flaws of a medium become its nostalgic signifier" chestnut. Oh yeah, the Brian Eno special. I think about this sometimes as like a fun thought exercise because it kind of trips me up, right? When I first saw like certain pieces of recent history getting turned into nostalgia bait, I think that was around the time I first had the thought of like, what is going to be that for this era? And that would have been the 2010s. And I remember thinking at the time, like, there's nothing anybody is going to want to come back to from this time. And harrowingly, I think like the miserable, like fucking like cursive sign that says like "be free" that you can buy at Target for $15 is probably that type shit. It's gonna wind up on like Pinterest cottagecore boards or whatever the fuck. And likewise, with the modern era, the AI sheen, the like 2024 AI smear is something that I think people are going to be deliberately trying to recreate. Maybe even before the end of the decade, but like definitely by sometime in the 2030s. Which like I think they'll be doing for the same way that we like. It's not like there's any aesthetic merit to it other than the fact that it is of antiquity. Other stuff from this period of time. I imagine vertical video is probably here to stay. I think if I viewed more ads in my day-to-day or was more familiar with the trends, I think I would have an easy list. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of like the big one in my mind. Like that, or like eventually we're going to hit a point where things that are nostalgically referencing other things are going to get nostalgically referenced. Like, what happens when people start making indie games based on PlayStation games? I don't know. Hopefully there's enough of an answer in there somewhere. Kind of a strange question, but how do you manage all the ISOs for each game you play? I always have trouble maintaining a collection for storage reasons. My PC has a fuck ton of storage because I am constantly running out of storage on the PC that I used previously. It's now in my living room. I use it to watch anime. And occasionally play games from my Steam library on the couch with my loved ones. That's neither here nor there. That information enriched you not at all. But it's got a fuck ton of storage, so I don't need to worry about it too much. But also, I don't tend to worry too much about holding on to a lot of those files unless I'm actively playing something or I think that it might be hard to find in the future, because no matter how hard they try, those goddarn wacky game studios are not going to be able to make ROMs and ISOs impossible to find on the modern internet. It's always going to be accessible. So I tend not to be too precious about that stuff. As far as organizing them, DuckStation and PCSX2 both have like drop-down lists of games you can sort and filter. And that's all the questions. Thank you. A lot of really good ones.